The strong determination to alleviate poverty, unemployment, illiteracy, health and nutrition problems in the severely disadvantaged sectors in the province has prompted Batangas Governor Vilma Santos Recto to adopt an effective system that will assist in diagnosing the extent of poverty in the local level. Applying the Community-Based Monitoring System or CBMS as an assessment tool and as a systematized data acquisition process with respect to the programs of the provincial government will not only provide for statistical data, but will also help diagnose the extent of poverty at the local level, determine its causes, formulate appropriate policies and programs, identify eligible beneficiaries, and assess the impact of policies and programs. The CBMS Provincial Report of Batangas presents the status of the province with respect to the various poverty indicators under the Millennium Development Goals. The information contained in this report was based on results of CBMS undertaken in 2009 in 32 localities of Batangas, which are the 31 municipalities and one of its cities, Tanawan City. The other two cities of Batangas, Batangas City and Lipa City, have yet to carry out the activity in the years ahead. Extreme poverty refers to the proportion of population or families living below the subsistence or food threshold. One of the targets of MDG is to reduce the proportion of people whose income is less than $1 by at least 50% between 1990 and 2015. Of the more than 346,000 households in the province, about 40% are living below the income poverty threshold. The municipalities with highest proportion of income-poor households are Laurel, Balete, and Agoncillo, while those with relatively least proportion of income-poor households are San Pascual, Taal, and Calatagan. There are 18 municipalities that registered food poverty incidence higher than the provincial figure. Food poverty incidence is worse in Balete, Laurel, and Agoncillo, with rates recorded at 51 to 55%. In 2009, the province registered an employment rate of 85%. The top three municipalities that registered the highest employment rate are San Pascual, Tuwi, and Padre Garcia. With regard to the proportion of malnourished children aged 0 to 5 years old, Batangas Province recorded a modest proportion of about 2% compared to the region's record of 21.5%. Significant developments have been made to expand access to primary education. In the public sector, 6 years of primary education is compulsory and free of charge. Net enrollment rate in the primary education is at 82% and for secondary education at 65%. The province's net enrollment in tertiary education is low at 29%. The remarkable literacy rate that the province recorded signals near attainment of 100% literacy in the very near future. In reducing poverty and advancing developments, women empowerment is an indispensable tool. Empowered women contribute to the health and productivity of whole families and communities and improve prospects for the next generation. Gender parity in primary education is almost achieved across the localities of Batangas, as individual ratios of enrollment rates of girls to that of boys are not very different from 1.0. Disparity in favor of girls becomes pronounced at secondary education, with the girls' enrollment rate exceeding that of boys for each of the municipalities and city covered. Disparity in favor of female population is slightly lower for tertiary education than that of secondary level. Promotion of female empowerment in the aspect of education is seemingly not a problem in Batangas. By 2015, the MDG project aims to diminish the mortality rate among children aged 5 years old and below by 2/3 between 1990 and 2015. Death among under 5-year-old children is aimed to be reduced to 26.7 per 1,000 live births by 2015. Mortality rates of children in the province are minimal. Per 1,000 live births, mortality among children under 5 years old is less than 3, while mortality of those less than 1 year old is 7. By municipality, Tuwi recorded the highest children mortality rate, followed by Mabini and Lubok. The municipalities having the least mortality ratios are Rosario, Ibaan, and Alitagtag. The fifth goal under the MDG is to cut down maternal death ratio by 3/4 between 1990 and 2015. Saving a pregnant woman's life means giving a child a chance to see what the world and life is all about. Actual number of cases of maternal deaths in the province is 34 cases, with 10 cases from the urban and 24 cases from the rural areas. Tuwi has the highest rate of maternal death among the municipalities. That is, out of 835 women who gave birth, 4 died, all coming from the rural area. Contraceptive use among couples for family planning is low at 25%. Religious beliefs of most Batangueños must likely have brought about the rather low prevalence rate. The province is determined in preventing the spread of TB, malaria, and HIV/AIDS that give a commanding threat on its people. Condom use is unpopular in Batangas, with reported use by barely 3% of the couples practicing contraception. Total deaths associated with pulmonary tuberculosis in the entire province is 276 cases, or around 18 deaths per 100,000 population. By locality, Tingloy, Agoncillo, and Lian recorded the highest death rates. Municipalities with the least recorded prevalence of PTB-related deaths are Rosario, Cuenca, and Mataas na Kahoy. Enhancing environmental sustainability is said to be one of the roads to poverty reduction. Access to safe drinking water in the province is high at 94%. Lobo, Tingloy, Taysan, Laurel, and Nasugbu are the top 5 municipalities with high proportion of households without access to safe drinking water. Access to sanitary toilet facilities is at 90.5%, slightly lower than the region's access rate of 92% but higher compared to the national access rate of 84%. The municipalities of Tingloy, Lemery, and Tuwi have the highest proportion of households without access to sanitary toilet facilities. Location of these municipalities gives hint as to the rather low access rate among households. The proportion of households living in makeshift housing is a bit higher in the rural areas than that of the urban areas. Barangays located in lake shores and seashores in Balete and Lian are the recorded areas with the most number of houses made of salvage materials. Meanwhile, Mataas na Kahoy, one of the municipalities with the lowest rate of informal settlers, is this time listed as among those which have relatively higher proportion of households living in makeshift housing. Informal settlers in the province account for 2.62% of the total households. Among the 32 localities, Malvar has the highest proportion of informal settlers, followed by Laurel and Nasugbu. Since the demand for modern communication technologies is increasing, the province, in cooperation with the private sector, make available the benefits of new technologies through the increase of both the telephone lines and the cellular phone subscribers. About 10% of the households are reportedly with landline phones. 65% have at least one cell phone, and 16% have computers at home. Municipalities of San Pascual, Bawan, and Mataas na Kahoy ranked highest as far as accessibility to telephone is concerned. On the other hand, Taysan, Tingloy, and Calatagan are the municipalities with the lowest proportion of households having telephone lines. Municipalities registering the highest proportion of households with cell phones are Mataas na Kahoy, Mabini, and Bawan. On the contrary, the municipalities of Rosario, Tingloy, and Lobo recorded the lowest proportion of cell phone users. The percentage of households with computers is at 16%. San Pascual, Bawan, and Santo Tomas are recorded to have the highest proportion of households with computers, while Tingloy, Calatagan, and Rosario recorded the least proportion of households with computers. Armed with the above data, the provincial government can be more focused in further strengthening the present programs and direct the interventions to the areas needing prioritization. To achieve the goal of reducing the poverty level in the province, programs in support of the agricultural sector should be aimed at assisting mainly the local farming communities and the livestock industry, poultry, and byproduct supply. Despite the slightly high rate of employment in the province, the high incidence of poverty in the province is alarming. Underemployment and insufficient income contributed largely to poverty. The following projects and programs, which are intended to provide wider and better employment opportunities for Batangueños, are envisioned to address, in part, the poverty in the province. Cooperatives, Livelihood Development Program, Tourism Development Program, and Public Employment Program. For education, although identification of school leavers and out-of-school youth has been made, there has been a lack of program that actually aid the target beneficiaries. Limited funding restricts the implementation of out-of-school youth projects. In addition, the declining interest of children to printed reading materials, especially textbooks and instructional reading materials, due to proliferation of computer and electronic games should be addressed. With the current high percentage for access to safe drinking water and sanitary toilet, Batangas has attained the national target for 2015. The challenge for the government lies in the implementation of continuous construction, provision, and maintenance of the water and sanitary facilities on the affected barangays. Also part is the reorientation educational campaign drive on all residents regarding the importance and benefits of having access to safe drinking water and using sanitary toilet, not only on health issues, but with the environmental concerns as well. Relative to environmental sustainability, the following are the challenges posed to the province. The implementation of programs that will promote security of tenure for informal settlers, relocation areas, and motivating informal settlers to live peacefully and permanently in the relocation areas where they are placed. The strengthening of policies regarding the protection of terrestrial and marine areas, endangered species, ecological system, and biodiversity protection. The preservation and propagation of the flora and fauna that will also help boost ecotourism in the province. And lastly, strict imposition of fines and penalties to violators of laws and regulations concerning environmental protection. With these results and possible solutions to the challenges, planning and programming therefore have seen a different light. Meeting the 2015 Millennium Development Goals Challenge can be well directed, and attaining the vision of a more progressive Batangas will shortly be at hand.
By obtaining an updated, verifiable, and accurate data on the poverty situation in our province. And we have done this already. We are one of the few provinces who have accomplished this. We have conducted a CBMS approach. Because of the data that this system has generated, our administration was able to identify and formulate programs of action that will appropriately, specifically, and effectively address the priority and actual needs in every affected and identified sector and locality in these municipalities na lumabas po sa ating CBMS. We know where to focus our resources. And with appropriate response, we are going to adapt this to address them with more concrete results. Sa maganda nating mithiin ito, sana po'y pagpalain tayo at tulungan tayo ng ating buong Panginoon Diyos. Again, to each and everyone, maraming salamat po at mabuhay po ang lalawigan ng Batangas.